Asante sana. In studio we have Zedekiah Adika. Zedekiah, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Fine.
Welcome back to the show this year.
Yes. Here we are.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you and to all our listeners.
Yeah,
I just wanted to first start on a positive note,
please.
but a very bad note for Arsenal fans. Yes, what happened yesterday made some of us sleep well.
You're Manchester United fan.
Yeah. Manchester United. I'm one of those who don't run away.
Yes.
A number of them always wear the jersey and the jacket so that when they win, they remove the jacket. But I'm that one who is ever there, no jersey, but always there. Unfortunately, yesterday, there was also a very bad incident in Othaya.
Yes.
Yes, where there were high-handedness of what we want to talk about, the police conduct and goon world.
Yes.
As we speak about the conduct of the police, looking at it in the angle of we are going to have elections next year.
Yeah.
And the high levels of police brutality during elections and campaigns, we must also talk about the conduct of goons, people who infiltrate what the police should do, and especially most of the time being viewed as working with the police.
Yes.
And so that incident is one that was quite low yesterday.
Yeah, let's actually get into that, because it was in the dailies as well today, where there was an attack in Nyeri, of course, and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was there.
Yes.
And he, according to him, he says that those were the police who were they were not dressed. What do you call them?
In
plain clothes.
Plain clothes, yes, plain clothes police, right? And after that incident, Interior CS Murkomen also released a statement, and he said that investigations are underway.
Yes.
Could you speak to that, to the attack that happened in the church, and also Rigathi Gachagua relating this to the government?
I think it is not the first one.
Yes.
Last week we released a statement, I think on 20th.
Yes.
And we were looking at the kind of things that have been following him as Rigathi Gachagua. This is not the first one.
Yes.
There's another one that happened, I think 2-3 weeks ago. And there are others that happened in Nairobi. I think, and some of them happened in the church. You looked at the by-elections. You've seen a number of times their team being blocked. Those are things that used to happen to Raila a lot of time. And sometimes when you are on the other side of the political divide, you want to say, imfanyikie tu hata yeye alifanyia Raila or something. I think it is something that should stop. The police have an independent role, and actually when this regime was coming to power, they made a commitment that they will let the police do their work. I am happy that the IG made a statement and said that instructed the Internal Affairs Unit to follow up. The fact that the IG spoke to the Internal Affairs Unit, he is saying, or he is looking at it, that there is a possibility that the police misconduct was involved, because the Internal Affairs Unit is the one that only investigates the police. For if there is any public person, then the DCI, the normal police, need to investigate. But when we were having a conversation as a nation about having IPOA, there was a clear spectrum that police cannot investigate themselves. And we will be speaking to this even with data, to the extent that if they do something wrong, most of the time they cover themselves. So the professional body within the police that is supposed to investigate the police need to give a report. And the IG need to always work with Kenyans on these things. If they want Kenyans to have trust on them, then he needs to work with Kenyans that in the matter of Ojwang, this is what we did. These are the police that were found culpable. This is what has happened to them. If something, for instance, happens at Central Police Station here in Mombasa, and you end up that there is no CCTV, then there is a clear spectrum of engagement of the police, to the extent that there's also just bad conduct that they need to deal with themselves. Ideally, according to the law, IPOA needs to investigate bigger cases. If there's assault of huge magnitude and if there's death, those are the cases that they need to investigate. Or when a Kenyan complains specifically on the misconduct of the police.
Yes.
But the general misconduct of police, they also need to have their own internal disciplinary process that they use. And if you want to discipline anybody, even here at job, you must do some basic investigations.
Yes.
And that is what the Internal Affairs Unit does.
Adika,
I also want to say something,
go ahead,
especially about Murkomen. It is not enough to just talk. You should also show in your conduct that you are serious about police misconduct. Murkomen, for me, since he said that statement that people could be shot at, I lost confidence in him. And he was my lecturer at the Kenya School of Law, and I told him in person that this is wrong. You need to really come out and apologize and show with conduct that you did not mean this. Unfortunately, the president also put his words and that shoot people's leg, and he has never withdrawn that statement. So those are very concerning trends if we are serious about handling police misconduct.
How then do we, you've pointed out a lot of things. I'll start with the statement that Murkomen made, and also now to the president saying that if these are people in authority, right, and they hold such positions of power, and they're able to make certain utterances about when it comes to the police, who then is going to hold them accountable? Because it's like you are free to do whatever it is that you want to do.
I think Parliament, and I've come here and we've spoken about the conduct of Parliament, the only office that then can hold them directly accountable is Parliament. The least that Parliament needed to do was to invite Murkomen in the assembly, summon him, and they have those powers to ask him to shed light and to reprimand him in the very least. But in the best circumstances, they needed to have done away with them.
Okay.
And if Parliament, for instance, votes Murkomen that they don't have confidence with him, then it will force the president to make him step down.
In this case, like in Odaya, what happened in that church, and we're seeing an attack. We're seeing an attack on the former deputy president, but then there are civilians here as well. Like there are people who just went to fellowship, right? First of all, if the police were responsible, who ordered this?
That is what investigation should speak to. My problem is these investigations do not, like you had me call about, work with us in this process. This investigation, the way they have said it, you will not see any word again about what is happening.
Yes.
I want to compare this conduct that we saw and something that happened in America when there was a gentleman who was George Floyd. You remember?
Yes.
And there was outcry. And what the state did was to investigate this matter. They did investigations. But in every time, like every 7 days, they informed people that this is where we have reached. We have preferred the following offenses against them. But we are still investigating 1, 2, 3. The day they completed the investigations, they called the media and said, we have completed the investigations. We are taking these matters to court. And actually, I think it did not take 14 days. Within 14 days, that matter was completed. The prosecution was completed. The court gave its verdict. And the information was all there that there was a misconduct. We took action. These people are behind bars. Yeah. And for that, you will get the confidence of people. And there is something here. You said that even though Rigathi Gachagua could have been in that church, there were people. There were other Kenyans. this is my take. My take is the National Police Service should not be under direct or directive of any other person other than themselves. And if they move to interrupt any action by anybody, we as Kenyans, we give them respect and say, we are not going to fight you. Proceed and do what you want. Because we have decided as a nation that we are surrendering some powers to them. It's not like they can fight Kenyans. The police are only 100, 200,000 people. We are 48 million. If we want to kill the entire police, Kenyans can kill them tomorrow. But we can't get there because we have decided that let the state have that power of disciplining people. So they have to use that power respectfully, with obedience to the people who own that authority, who are Kenyans. And we do not see that. Number two, everybody, even that Rigathi Gachagua, we may hate him. If you think Rigathi Gachagua has done something negative, arrest him, prosecute him, take him to court. Yeah, he should not be a person that wherever he appears, there's always going to be jostling. Actually, on account of the fact that there are people who respect him, yeah, there are a multitudes of people who think this is their person.
Yeah.
Wrongfully or rightfully, that is their belief. He is a person that the state should always see that is protected with slightly higher levels of protection.
Yeah.
He has been at a very high level of office at the deputy president's level, and whether he was impeached or not, he needs that protection of the state. It is good for the general peace of the public that he is protected. And that should happen to all the politicians, and they also need to reciprocate. Now, there is another conduct. I spoke about the conduct of political players working with goons, and sometimes, most of the time, especially during the by-elections, we saw a situation, the by-elections and the demonstrations that were happening, where goons infiltrate, and they seem to be escorted
by the police.
Yes. And that is something that we must refuse completely. The police have the power, have the authority, and they should have the capacity to deal with any unrest of Kenyans. So that if there is any form of indiscipline, we know where to start.
Yeah.
But if there is somebody in there that is not a uniformed person, first, if it happens within Mombasa, you may not even take him to a police station because it seemingly he was colluding with the police. So you can't go to police station naturally. But you can't also take him to IPOA because IPOA can't investigate a civilian. Yeah? And so it makes it very complicated if you have goons infiltrating those practices. I wanted to say something about what has happened lately. And,
yes, on the data of when it comes to police killings, what are we looking at? What number are we looking at?
Lately, there have been around 17 cases this year alone. And those 17 cases, you saw what happened in Utange here. They began here in Mombasa, Utange, where a 14-year-old boy was shot at. There was a guy who was shot in Nyeri at the police station. There's one in Kurunjenga. Kurunjenga. Yes, Mkuru Kwanjenga have had two incidences. The first one and the second one where Sakaja went and was saying that we can just talk to our people instead of beating them up. There is one that happened in Kinango where there were alleged stolen goats. Then the death of human being comes out. You saw what happens in the pool. Was it in Nandi? There were guys who were playing pool.
Yes.
And they were beaten up like nobody's business. Up to now, we have not seen, and those are people who are captured in the camera. I don't know if you people have met any statement from the IG about it, but I've not seen. Yeah. That is why people lose confidence in whether the police or even the IPOA at that level are serious on that, on certain investigations.
I think, Adika, when you're talking about this data and you're saying 17 cases of police brutality, we go back and say, okay, fine, this person was killed by the police, this person was shot at, this, and you can find it happened in the hands of the police. But now, what is supposed to be done? And is it a matter of just us reporting and the police go scot-free? What should be done?
Seriously, I think Kenyans need to have a serious conversation. It for me, it does seem like this is one aspect of accountability that is not working. Since the Constitution, look at how even devolution has taken front. You have governors. From the initial governance system that was there, if you look at what devolution is doing since 2010 to now, and if you see the police conduct, if you even compare the figures of how people used to be brutalized, I think we are doing very bad in terms of police accountability. There are a lot of fronts where this conversation need to happen. And one of those fronts for me is at the political arena. I was looking at if you are keen on the governance of this nation, there is a promise tracker by an organization in Nairobi that looks at the promises that were made by this regime and what has been effected. And when I looked at that promise tracker, some of the key things that this regime has not done relates to the conduct of governance of the police. One that they did was to give the IG funding, which was commendable. That is, this regime has done. It has also done that to the judiciary, so that they have their funding. And even though the allocation could be less, but that is a question that Parliament need to answer. But there are certain decisions that this regime has not really acted upon. One of them was to ratify the Convention on Disappearance of Persons. And that has not happened because when you ratify such conventions, then the international look into the nation is greater. I think the last regime brought something called the Coroner's Bill. The Coroner's Bill looks at, for instance, when there is a death anywhere, then there is a specific person that comes to look at that death. What happens here, for instance, in Shakahola, is that it is the DCI that was there. Most of the time, this DCI is being accused that it's your officers at some point got this information about Shakahola, but they did not act. Yeah. So the coroner's office is an independent office that can go out there and handle even the scene of death of anybody independently. We have seen in TV and with our bare eyes when sometimes people are shot at and the police are dragging the body. Yeah, that is mishandling of that scene to the extent that then you will not get proper evidence to nab somebody. Yeah, so that is another thing that even the commission, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, called for. And then I think we are not putting the IGs to the level of accountability that they need to respond to. I would want a situation where once a year he needs to defend his report in the National Assembly. Every time allocation of finances are being done at the National Assembly, every office sends their people there to defend their budget, but they don't defend their reports. Yeah, we were supposed to talk about IPO and we will talk about it, but this is one of the places where we also need to have a conversation with them, whether they are completely unable to handle some of these cases, and they need to tell us why. For instance, The other time when we cornered them, when we asked them questions, they said that we share one laboratory with the National Police Service. And that laboratory is under the National Police Service. It is controlled by officers from DCI. So you would know, for instance, that if you take a case there, unless there is huge public outcry on it, there's going to be some silence, yeah? And if they have also found frustrations, what are these frustrations? We need to look properly into the curriculum of National Police Service.
Okay.
Because I think some of this thing is infused in the training that they get. I was very disturbed the other time when Ojwang died. Yeah, you remember the Ojwang Albert's case, and Kenyans came out to demonstrate for one person. I think there were 2 demonstrations. I was looking at the figures with IPOA in their report. They indicate that 65 people died out of Ojwang, Ojwang and Sabasaba. They came closely together in 3 demonstrations. So we are going to demonstrate so that you handle one person's case, the body the person that we lost. Then you end up with 65 people dead. Then you ask yourself, did we have to get there?
Where is the problem?
I have pointed out a number.
And you see, I'm looking at a case where there's this report, right?
Yes.
And it says protest-related injuries and deaths. That is June to July 2025, right?
Yes.
IPOA documented 65 fatalities, 342 civilian injuries, and 171 police injuries during the nationwide protest, right? In 2024, police were linked to at least 104 killings and 55 enforced disappearances. That is 24% increase, right? And now you're telling me in 2026 now, January, you're telling me we are at 17 cases, right? In 17 cases. So we have these figures. This happened. These people were killed by the police. But what is being done? Are we just reporting and nothing is being done? Like, who is being held accountable?
I think there's none.
Exactly.
Let's be honest. Me and you will raise these cases.
Yes.
And some of our organizations will follow up. Yeah. But you can only follow up to a certain extent. The reason why people like IPOA, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, must work is because they have a direct responsibility and they are even given certain powers. You and me can't get into Central, into the cell. I only got there when I was arrested. I was complaining about a certain boy and then I was arrested. And then I got a number of children there. So many of them. So when I started asking, I was told, some of them told me, look, this thing happens here every evening. So that then in the evening, the parents come and you give something. And I said, I'm not going. I'm not leaving this station until these children leave. My colleague advocates came and then they said Adika has this civil society skin. Some of them left. We were left there with my colleagues from civil society. But good enough, those boys left at the end of the day. So IPOA has a direct mandate to get into Central and look at something like that. Yeah, we have read those numbers. Yeah, what hurts me most is that in those numbers, 65, the other one 104, you'd find that not 10 of them are in court. Almost they are still investigating. The people that we were demonstrating with here in 2004, including the boy who died here in town out of tear gas, a clear case of tear gas, even the canister was found. Up to now, that case is not in court. And so you wonder, are we just compiling data and figures and showing how people have died? These are things that are so serious that if you have your conscience, even as an IG, you need to resign. Yeah. And they are not resigning. That is why we must call out people in especially Parliament. I have a problem with Parliament because they are oversight, the highest level of oversight and they can call anybody, including the president. They don't do that. People just want their 55 billion for CDF. That's what they keep running around looking for. They get CDF, they start competing about who is providing better education. It's not their work, honestly. And if we don't address that, and the only person who spoke loudly about this has died. Raila said, look, in 2027, let's make this thing an election issue so that we see whether you need to implement activities or you need to oversight the executive. And it should be overall. This should not be like, this is the opposition who should not make noise. All members of parliament, including UDA, ODM, everybody in that parliament need to oversight the executive. And an aspect of oversight that they are failed in is this one of police misconduct. That's Article 29. Yeah. The security of Kenyans is not properly considered within this regime. And
can that happen when you say parliament should hold the police accountable, right?
Yes.
Can it happen in our country? Are they able to do it? Are they independent?
They should be independent. Look, if you look at in terms of what we give them as Kenyans, the billions that we give these people to just do their work, just go there, call this person, vote. They are not needed to fight. Call Murkomen, you think this is misconduct. Vote him out.
Why are they not doing it?
Yeah, because that's what I was telling you about the way they are looking at the executive is in terms of how can I get development. It's not their work. Look, when you get to Nairobi as a member of parliament, and they all do it equally, one, they allocate resources. The budget comes as a draft from Badi. And Badi says, that's what I have. Until they approve it, it is not going to work. And so they can call Badi and say, look, be honest, be fair to all Kenyans. Provide these projects equally to the entire nation. Yeah? And they are supposed to be able to agree and say, all the parts of the nation in these small resources that we have are touched. Yeah. So there's equality and equity for every part of this nation. Then they leave that. They tell the executive, we have given you money, we have told you where to use it. Go and do that work. Including this thing they keep running away around, that CDF, we want to give bursaries. Honestly, you have, what is it called? A check and a pen. You just need to write to schools and say enough amount of money to the Ministry of Education, all that bursaries ikue kwa kila mtoto, so that every child pengine walipe 3,000 or 2,000, all of them equally. They have that ability, but now they want to be seen. Mimi nimebeba check, nimekuja nao, nimewapata. It's a lot of nonsense. It is not making progress as a nation. And so Kenyans in this election of 2027, these things that we see, ODM, who is the kingpin where, that nonsense need to stop. Let a member of parliament and your members of parliament tell you how they are going to account, how they are going to hold the executive to account. That's when even these projects. I was telling my colleagues that, look, if you read the Auditor General's report, it reads bad. It's like there are projects here, there that are all stalling. Yeah? This report is given to them as members of parliament. You will never see one executive officer fired because of their misbehavior that comes from the Auditor General report. But if you look at the billions that we lose, even here in Mombasa, here in Kwale, you go to Kwale, there's a Kombani market. It looks so bad. Everybody has called it out. Nobody. You come here, look at the stadium. You go to Taita Taveta, people can't even buy cows. They took 200 million. They can't show receipts. They can't show who they gave the cows. 200 million, honestly. You go to Taita Taveta, to Tana River. There is a whole place where they said they are going to put street light. street light, they have not put, the Auditor General have gone there sijui how many times. You go to Lamu, water projects are stalling. So everywhere, that is just the counties, the national government. Even here in court, my sister, look, how can people take money from government, build a court where judges write judgments. The day they finish, when there is going to be the first check whether that building is fit for human, can people work there, then it is declared unfit for human being to be there. Here in Mombasa, this Mombasa, there's a court building there. So it is every institution that is rotting and getting us into a bad, because that money have gone to somebody's hands. Somebody has stolen that money. They don't want to account. Parliament looks at those reports and say, voila, we are all okay. Let's go. Then we don't need to elect them. I have a big problem with Parliament. I have also a problem with IPOA.
Wakili.
Yes.
Mimi swali langu linakuja, umetoa mfano na Marekani, ile historia George Floyd. And then ukasema kwamba idara ya polisi hiyo yenyewe lazima iwe na kitengo cha nidhamu. Sisi hapa tuna mamlaka ya IPOA ambayo tunasema ni huru. Wakati wao wameshindwa kufanya ule wajibu ambao kwamba tunautaka. Last time nilisikia ripoti yao ni kwamba kwenye vifo 60 vile kinaitwaje kile kitengo cha kutetea haki za binadamu, ilisema ni 60, serikali inasema ni 40, lakini IPOA imechunguza 22 peke yake kati ya hiyo 40 ama 60. Unaamini kabisa kweli kwamba eti idara ya polisi ikiwa na kitengo cha nidhamu wanaweza wakaleta matokeo kama ambayo umeyasema yale ya Marekani?
Inatakikana hivyo kwa sababu kuna mtu ambaye sisi tunawalipa ili wafanye hiyo kazi. Kwa vile tuliona kwamba wao wenyewe hawezi kujichunga wenyewe, ndio tukachukua IPOA kwamba iwachunguze. IPOA, by the way, wale watu ambao wako huko ni civilians, hakuna polisi huko. Wale watu ambao pengine wanafanya investigations ndio pengine walitoka polisi, kwa sababu kitengo ambacho kilikuwa kinafanya investigations sana hapa Kenya ni mapolisi peke yao. So kuna watu ambao wali recruit kutoka huko, lakini pia kuna civilians ambao wanafanya nao. Kuna mawakili na kuna our commissioners na kuna pia watu ambao wanafanya investigations on specific professional background, pengine kama madaktari na nini. Kwa hivyo wako na hawa watu, lakini wao pia wako na malilio yao, kwamba pengine wao ni wachache, hizi makosa zimekuwa mingi. Lakini challenge yetu sisi tunawaeleza ni kwamba hata kama mko wachache, kwa nini msifanye kesi kama 5, 10, tuone hata zile chache ambao umefanya watu wamefungwa, Na pia tumewaambia ongeeni na watu, elezeni watu ni nini mnafanya. Kwa sababu ukikutana na Mkenya yoyote umuulize, polisi amekudhulumu, atakueleza polisi amenidhulumu hapa na hapa na hapa. Lakini haoni siku ile ambao huyu polisi amechukuliwa hatua. Kwa hivyo hiyo kuongea ama kueleza Wakenya ni nini wanafanya pia imerudi chini sana. Kwa hivyo itabidi to pull up our socks sana. Na nilikuwa nasema kwamba tusiwache hii mazungumzo. Sisi kama civil society na pia nyinyi kama journalist tuendelee kuongea, ndio tukienda katika hii elections tujaribu pia kupush agenda ya accountability ya hawa viongozi. Na pia nilikuwa na challenge wenzangu wa civil society kwamba apart from sisi kufanya press ama pengine kuvisit police hapa, ni nini ambayo tunaweza fanya? Tunaweza kupeleka petition kwa parliament tuseme kuna uwezekano ya sisi kwanza kuongea kulingana na hizi figures ambazo ziko, so that we have a conversation vile tunaweza ku make police accountable. Lakini mimi nilikuwa naona kwamba the long term thing lazima pia ikuwe kwa training. Mimi nashuku kwamba training yetu bado inalalia kama ile ya ukoloni. Unajua kitambo walikuwa polisi kufanya ni kazi yao ni kusubdue wananchi, ya umeletea serikali shida, wewe utapigwa mpaka useme nimekubali. Lakini hapo tulitoka kitambo. In fact wale watu ambao walituletea hiyo curriculum ya kusubdue watu ni Waingereza. See, the colonialists are the ones who brought that idea that police need to be high-handed nini, because those are the things they use that tactic to colonize people. Their own police is extremely accountable. If you look at the deaths in their country that relates to police misconduct, very small. The highest number is where the practice has never changed of how to handle. And then you find that you see the way it's not only in Kenya. You've seen the way Uganda is doing it. You the other day you saw what was happening in Tanzania. So in these African countries, we have a police that feels that it's proper to kill people, to hurt people, and there will never be accountability.
Yeah, this is because we've never seen, like, if you were to see, let's say, a police being held accountable.
They are very
ni chache sana.
Chache sana, and that would have to take huge community presence. Yeah. Kesi kama ile ya Cheche alikuwa anaitwa nani? Kuna moja ilifanyika hapa Kwale. Yes. It took a lot of civil society engagement, and one or two officers. There was a gentleman in this IPOA office who was called Evans, who went out of his way to really follow up that matter, and he was working very closely with civil society. That's how we got those police officers getting nabbed. Of course, they were threatened. At some point, he was not even walking with his phone. Those are the fears that some of them have. But those are fears that if they have proper state support, then those are fears that will be cleared, because they also need to have enough resources. Yeah, they also need to have proper security. Yeah, so that I was told they used to leave their phones when they are walking, so that they are not tracked. Yeah, so those are things that the government should be able to look at, because these people who are threatening them are government officers. It only needs to take proper investigation and say, you have been found to be tracking witnesses, you stop working here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was call you IPOA, man. Adika, as we're talking about holding the police accountable, and I know we've not really pretty much touched on the role of IPOA. My question is, Independent Policing Oversight Authority. How do we get to a space where IPOA can operate independently?
I think some of the things I can just share according to my interactions with them. Some of the things that need to be done is there needs to be proper resource allocation. For instance, why should they share a laboratory with the police? The government has enough resources to build them their own investigating laboratory. Two, I think we also need to tighten levels of accountability for them. Up to now, I have seen the report from Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. I have not seen their entire report. The report that is there for them is a report of few days that were looked at. Number two, there are a lot of recommendations in that report that you read. Almost 8 of them. I don't know, and they have not demonstrated how they want to follow up that those recommendations are implemented. They have the board. The board is like their commissioners. And something really happened very interesting. That the chair of the board, Isaac Hassan, went to interview for Court of Appeal, and he was taken at the Court of Appeal. That tells you about the seriousness of such a person. Did he really want to work at IPOA? Yeah? And if he can't work at IPOA, why are you giving him job elsewhere? Those are questions that Kenyans need to ask. And so I find it that at some point, even the way we recruit officers to these offices need to be slightly serious. The state need to take proper action on how you you employ and take officers to those offices, but they need to be given proper resources. And I think where now the buck stops, the buck stops with Kenyans.
What about the police?
For me, the buck stops largely with Kenyans.
Okay.
and I want to mention various segments of Kenyans that have failed people.
Okay.
You see, every time we do an election, 2017, 2022, 2014 kidogo, 2007, there's always a violence after that.
Yeah.
Huge deaths. Not an accountability happens. People go shake hands, then they forget about that. Yeah. Those gaps of accountability make this question of high-handedness get slightly increased. Yeah, because if you make people accountable, then they will be thinking twice, including how we employ the people at IG level.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that then you look at the accountability of a person since he was put into that service.
Yes.
Yeah. Before this gentleman, there have been questions about even how they handle court orders. There's a time this Masengeli was invited to court how many times? I think you
so
saw
many
it.
times.
So many times.
Yep.
It is an indication that this is not a person who should be serving. And I want to give another a comparison.
Yeah.
There's something that is happening in South Africa about some sort of state capture, how the underworld and the police have been working together with thugs and security firms to hurt individuals, especially auditors or people of civil society and political figures that call them out. And they have been killing people. And so there was one police officer, Mkwanazi, who just on 6th of July last year called a press conference. He's not even an IG. He called a press conference and he detailed how people have been killed, how these people have colluded with ministers, how and political figures who is supporting them in the National Assembly. And so there is a commission that is looking at the entire conduct of police, the entire conduct of political figures. I think we need something like that in Kenya. Because I sit at a place where I serve people, largely pro bono. And my sister, if I tell you how people are hurt, even here in Mombasa, because of their land, parcels of land. You sit on a parcel of land where you have been. One day, goons and police come, they remove you from your parcel, you are beaten up, you find cases in your name. A lot of those cases, I have like 4 or 5 cases in Shanzu, like those ones. You can see that this is a clear... In fact, once the OCS sees my letter, then there's a feeling like, hey, this thing has gotten out of hand.
Adika, when you say the buck stops with the Kenyan citizen,
yes,
what should the Kenyan citizen do?
The Kenyan citizens must elect people who are accountable. We are not doing that. We are just taking money from people and voting in people who cannot account, people who cannot call out the executive. Even in the executive, you need people who can be accountable. If you think that this regime is not doing well, there should be a competitive process where you say, this guy, in terms of accountability, he is far much better than the other person. But if you look at their records, my sister, you look at records of people that are being voted in the executive, these assemblies, the Senate, you find senators who had stolen as governors, vying as senators to go and oversight governors. It's a whole failure, because then the Auditor General report for their years is still being questioned to that date. You find governors who stole as governors being appointed as ministers. Their reports are still everywhere for everybody to see. Nobody calls them to account. Then we get to vote people in terms of how they give us money. We miss the point. What we have to do so that citizens know these things, is that we must have this conversation to the extent that if somebody is showing interest in being a president the next day, you must ask him, you are governor, you did 1, 2, 3. How are you going to be different when you are a president?
Yeah.
And the question of accountability must be an election issue.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Zedekiah Adika. The conversation is insightful, and I like the fact that you've said the back stops with the citizen.
Yes.
We say all the time the
ballot
power is in your hands,
hata
right?
kwa katiba inasema
Yes.
hivyo.
Yes, the power is
power.
in your hands. So remember, if you've not registered as a voter, do register as a voter, because your vote counts. It has to count, right? Yeah. We've been speaking to Zedekiah Adika. He's an advocate of the High Court and also a human rights activist, looking at holding the police accountable and also the role of IPOA in all this. We'll be right back. Good morning.